Well, if the Kings losing to the Golden State Warriors last week in their home opener wasn't bad enough, I lost a bet to my good friend from ESPN 1320 Radio, Kyle Madson, who's a Warriors fan. So we had to record today's Locked On Kings podcast while eating spicy foods. I have absolutely no spice tolerance. So needless to say, when I had the worst hot sauce that I've ever seen before, which those of you who are familiar with hot ones will know what I'm talking about, let's just say I didn't react too well to it. You're going to see that reaction as we give a spicy preview of Kings versus Warriors on Wednesday right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA when you create an account for $20 off of your first purchase. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, and I hate spicy foods. Well, that's not entirely true. I like a small amount of spice that's more flavor than it is heat. Well, that's not what today's Locked On Kings podcast is about, because nobody wants that, right? You want to see suffering. And even though Sacramento Kings fans are probably still a little disappointed from how the Kings home opener went on Friday, thankfully we had Sunday night's Kings win over the Los Angeles Lakers to make us feel a little bit better about the weekend as a whole. But allow this to cheer you up a little bit if you're still down in the dumps on this Monday. I don't like hot sauce, so we found some of the hottest sauce literally on the planet for me to try in this interview with Kyle Madson previewing the Kings and the Warriors. Enjoy. A bet is a bet. And on today's Locked On Kings podcast, we have a spicy Kings versus Warriors preview. Kyle Madson joins me from ESPN 1320. We are going to be consuming spicy foods while we preview the Kings versus Warriors again. And it's all going to end because the Kings lost on their home opener on Friday night. It's all going to end with me taking a little bit of Da Bomb, which if you're not familiar with that, check out Hot Ones. It's what all the celebrities almost die to.
Yeah, we're just swagger jacking Hot Ones. But I know you're not a spicy guy. And that's how this all started. So none of this is insane, except for your sauce at the end. And I'll be participating with you. And none of this is insane. Like the jalapeno Cheetos, not that bad. You got some habanero lime kettle brand chips. They're fine. They're a little spicy. It's not crazy. But you get an extra spicy curry, and that might mess you up a little bit.
So we're going to start off a little light, and we're going to be called wussies for how we start a little light. I have zero spice tolerance whatsoever. Like I eat too many Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and I'm done for. So I'm in big trouble, but I'm actually looking forward to the curry because it smells amazing.
Yeah, it does.
It smells really good. And of course,
I've already busted out the rice. The rice is really good.
And it's fitting that it's spicy curry, just because of the salt in the wound with curry's 41.
Yeah, no, it felt like a necessity.
Yeah.
To go, because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, there's wings. I can find like what are the hottest wings in Sacramento. I can try that. But then Steph went for 41, and it's just kind of like, all right, that's easy.
Well, before we dive into our layers of hell here, we'll start with kind of a serious note, which is De'Aaron Fox's injury that he suffered last night in the win over the Los Angeles Lakers. Good news today, it's just a moderate ankle sprain. He's expected to miss at least a week, but he could be back as early as just after a week. And I don't know if you remember, Kyle, but a couple seasons ago, De'Aaron Fox suffered a grade 3 ankle sprain, which is like the worst that you could suffer.
Right.
And he came back weeks early from that. So one thing we know for sure is if De'Aaron can go, he's going to do everything he can to go, as apparent by last night.
Yeah, it looks when you look at their schedule, it looks like their next like hard game, quote unquote, is November 10th, and that's OKC. But between there, you get the Warriors in Golden State. You have 2 at the Rockets, and then 1 at home against the Blazers. Those are 4 winnable games, even without De'Aaron Fox for me. So it's definitely unfortunate, but like you said, it feels like they dodged the bullet a little bit with the injury not being. I don't want to say injuries aren't good. It's not a good thing, but considering what could have been, where he's out, several weeks, right? You'll take a week or two and feel okay about it.
And you can never replace your star player, especially someone as good as De'Aaron Fox, but. Right. that's why you have depth, right? And that's why the Kings made the additions to their depth this offseason. And it's now up for guys like Malik Monk, Davion Mitchell, really everybody across the board to kind of make up for the nearly 30 or over 30 points per game that De'Aaron Fox has been putting up so far this season. But all right, let's jump into this Warriors preview and let's start. What are we starting with?
Yeah,
here?
this is nice and easy. This is a cheddar jalapeno Cheeto.
Okay.
It's
Am I
dude.
just doing
They're
one?
honestly, you might fall in love with these. They're delicious, bro.
Okay.
Like I'm telling you, I genuinely think you might like them. They're really good if you mix them. You know the barbecue Fritos? They're really good if you mix them with that.
By the way, this podcast is not sponsored by any of this stuff.
No, not at all.
Not at all sponsored. We're just doing this, so you're welcome, Cheetos, and as if they need our advertisement.
We're gonna put Cheetos on the map.
These are good. Yeah, this is so we're starting off
not
light.
bad at all.
All right. So, first things first. What do you think went wrong for the Sacramento Kings specifically in their loss to the Warriors on Friday night?
So this is what's funny about it. I don't want to say funny. Funny is probably the wrong word.
God, those are good.
They're really good, right? It's a little kick. It's not. I wouldn't call it spicy. I'm glad that you're not like, oh no, this is too much, because we would have real trouble coming. But I genuinely, when you watch that game on Friday, it didn't feel like they turned the ball over too much, but it didn't feel like they were doing a bad job on Curry. It wasn't like Steph was open and hitting these wide open looks. They were. I thought Chris Duarte did a nice job checking him full court. They were in his jersey in the half court, and he was just making shots. And sometimes that's what great players do. But it was, for me, there were too many instances, and I saw this in the preseason a little bit, and then Mike Brown talked about it a little bit after the game, was how they got into like dribbling the air out of the ball, and the ball wasn't moving. And then on top of that, it was like you saw Domas do this multiple times where he would get into the lane and then try and throw it out when he needs to go up with it. Or I guess he's left-handed. Go up with it. And those were the two big things, because I think that led to a couple turnovers. I think it led to some tougher shots than the Kings needed to have. And that was ultimately kind of what did them in. But when Steph gets rolling like that, like that's we were talking about it on 1320 today. I don't know what you do. Because there's just not a lot of solutions for a guy who's just going to score 41 from all the different ways he can do it.
Well, De'Aaron said after that game in particular, like it's impossible to stop him unless you're blocking his shot, which Steph doesn't get blocked. So
right.
it's impossible
Except
to
for
stop
Victor
him.
Wembanyama, apparently.
Apparently so. Well, I mean, I look at that game, and there's actually, I thought, a lot of positives to pull out of that game. But the frustration that I have with that game is, I imagine a frustration that's shared by the players and shared by all the 29 teams that have to face the Golden State Warriors. And this has been a staple of the Warriors over the course of their dynasty, which I know you can speak to a lot. And you can also speak to how, I guess, you overcome or how you beat this. But you can be in control against the Warriors for a vast majority of the game. For the Kings, it was the first half. 21 of the first 24 minutes, they were pretty much in full control, built a double-digit lead. The Warriors rattle off for no reason in the final 60 to 90 seconds, a 9-0 run, take a 3-point lead into halftime, and it's, hey, all that work you did in the first half, not only is it gone, but now you're behind, and you have to figure that out. Like, how do you overcome that if you're playing the Warriors?
I think it's avoiding – I definitely think you have to maximize your own possessions, but it's avoiding the missed shot, and then they get a quick bucket on the other end, or they get a quick open look on the other end. You have to be sound in your transition defense, and then you have to be sound offensively too. And that's where the Warriors want you to drive. They want you inside, so they are going to collapse. They're going to make it hard to kick out. They have active hands. That's something Steph Curry, not a great defender, but really active hands. And they're going to force you into some mistakes. And then when that mistake happens, they get out and they go. I mean, they led the league in pace last year, despite having a bunch of dudes who were super old. So that's something that they have thrived on. That's, the shooting was always the big headline during their run between 2015 and 2019. But it was their defense that really kind of set the tone there. And so that's what I think teams need to, because you're just not going to stop them defensively. Like, you're not just going to stop Steph Curry. But I think you can limit what they're doing, especially in transition, by being more sound offensively, not turning the ball over, getting good looks, and then making them.
Let's jump into this next level here, which is, what are these?
Yeah, those are habanero lime chips. I've actually never had these.
You had me at lime.
Yeah, I've never had a habanero lime chip before, but I'm really excited to try it.
Again, I know spice lovers in the comment section are going to say that we're just.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a total pansy.
This is nothing.
Huge
but
pansy.
He brought these. I brought the pain that's going to come late. Well, he brought the curry, and I'm nervous and excited about the curry, so we'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to, speaking of curry, I wanted to ask you about what you thought of the De'Aaron Fox, Steph Curry, like going back and forth.
Those are really nice as well.
I
picked bad spicy things. Go ahead.
Because, like, unfortunately, Fox is not going to be available, or all signs point to Fox not being available for Wednesday,
Right.
so we won't see this again. But I'm not saying De'Aaron Fox is on Steph Curry's level by any means. He still has ways to go to get to literally one of the greatest of all time.
Sure.
But to see Fox go toe-to-toe with Curry like that, do you think that's also what is bringing out the 50 points and 41-point performance out of Steph?
Yeah, maybe a little bit for sure. Like he doesn't want anybody. He's not going to just back down from somebody trying to go at him like that. And that's one of the things I love about De'Aaron. It has since he got into the league. There's always been that like FU to his game, and he gets up against another star like Steph Curry, and he's going to go after him. And I think Steph definitely responds to that. But it was kind of necessity for me on Friday more than Steph. Taking swings because De'Aaron started getting downhill and going off. Clay wasn't making anything. They were just pretty ineffective offensively outside of Steph individually kind of cooking. So I think that's what he saw was as that game got into the third quarter, they saw a chance to kind of get a stranglehold on it because the initial run came with Steph out when he wasn't in the game. But I think he saw a chance to kind of put a stranglehold on the game, particularly into the third quarter, and just kind of got rolling. And then in the fourth, when Fox started going, Steph had to stay in the game and kind of go blow for blow.
So I'm not gonna lie, those have a little bit of a kick for me. They're good, but a little bit, certainly more than
definitely more than the
definitely
Cheeto,
more
for sure.
And again, I'm a baby when it comes to spice tolerance, so I'm feeling this one a little bit. But with the absence of De'Aaron Fox coming on Wednesday, like we said earlier, it's kind of all hands on deck, right, for Sacramento to step up specifically. But if you're game planning from the Kings' perspective against the Warriors, you obviously know the Warriors very well. The Warriors know you very, very well. Is there anyone in particular where you're like, that guy specifically needs to end up being the difference maker? And it couldn't even just be as simple as Domantas Sabonis.
I think so. I think Malik Monk is the big one because I think you're going to see more Malik Monk at the point guard. Not that he's going to start, but I think you're going to see him facilitating the offense. For me, I think it's Keegan Murray because there's a lot of shot attempts to go around, and Malik Monk is going to take some of them. Davion Mitchell is obviously going to take some of them. But I want to see, this is where I want to see Keegan Murray, if he's going to be their third guy in this core of Sabonis, Murray, and Fox. This is an instance where he now needs to take a step up. And that's just in assertiveness offensively. It's not even necessarily shooting more, but if the opportunities are there, take them. If he can put the ball on the deck and try and get to the basket and get to the free throw line, you got to do that. He was excellent on the boards last night. I think he had 8 rebounds against the Lakers. Like, you love to see that and continuing that and just getting those extra possessions. So that's the player that I'm looking at because, you need Malik Monk and you need Davion Mitchell and you need, more from Kevin Huerter, or if Colby Jones plays or whoever it is. Keegan is the guy that, one of your stars is out. This is supposed to be your other star. Like, let's start to see those steps forward.
Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. $5. That's all you have to put down. Pick a money line that you like. You win. Here's $150 more in bonus bets on top of that for you to make any more money. And it doesn't matter how much the odds are in your favor or not. Pick a money line bet that's almost guaranteed to win, even if it makes you absolutely no money. Pick the best bet you could possibly find. You'll cash in on those $150 in bonus bets for you to have a little more fun long term on FanDuel and find those player props, those spreads, the overs and unders, and more that FanDuel always offers. If you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time than right now. Plus, in addition to all the great NFL action they have, of course, all NBA season, incredible action for you with basketball on FanDuel as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I heard you discussing this with James earlier today on the Insiders on ESPN 1320, and hey, 10 to 2 or
Good
10
plug.
to noon. You guys were discussing like how many shots for Keegan to take in a game, and I think the number you said was like 17-ish, like around that range. And you said you don't feel like he doesn't have it really in his DNA to take 20 shots. Well, he may have to figure that out, especially in a game like the Golden State Warriors. If it's a high-scoring game and it's going blow for blow, like Keegan, shoot. And that's one thing Mike Brown said last night. Like Mike basically said, the only way I'm going to pull you out of a game, unless it's like your time in the rotation to get a rest, the only way I'm going to pull you out is if you hesitate to shoot. Like, shoot the basketball.
That's it.
So, like, if Keegan ends up taking 20 shots, even if the Kings lose, I mean, you might have to kind of live or die with that.
I think that's right, because you'd rather have Keegan Murray taking those shots than like Harrison Barnes. And God bless Harrison Barnes, but that's not your guy in that spot. At least he shouldn't be, in my opinion. They very clearly are very high on what Keegan Murray can become, or what they think he will become, and like that to me is maybe it's Harrison Barnes if let's say De'Aaron's out for 5 games. Let's just maybe it's Harrison Barnes for one of them. Maybe he has a night kind of like he had in Utah, but outside of that, I think it has to be Keegan Murray on a consistent basis. It can't be 12, 13 shots. Like, nah, man, go get 17, 18 shots if they're there.
All right, let's dive into this Curry, and we can suffer with that spice for a little bit while we continue
really can't wait.
our
I'm so
conversation.
excited.
All right, and where is this from, Kyle? To give them the plug that they don't need.
You know, I opened up my Star India Curry and Grill. It's actually like a mile down the road from the station.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do
So
this with one hand.
they have one of those things. I got you. They have one of those things you can order like a different spice level. And when I typically go to a curry spot or an Indian spot, I get like medium. Like medium's kind of my threshold. This is spicy. I ordered it spicy, and then in the little notes on their website, I put extra spicy, please. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so you challenge
And I'm
them.
performing, and I'm doing this in solidarity with you. I'm not doing the bomb hot sauce, but I'm doing this in solidarity with you because I feel bad.
Which you did not have to do, by the way.
No,
Kyle
I
is
just wanted to eat good shit.
Kyle's a good guy. Like, Kyle did not have to do this at all.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Let's get in there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, dig in. Let's,
Punished by Curry again. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take a bite, and then we'll get to the next question, because I'm actually really curious.
honestly, it's pleasant.
ask
Damn
you.
it. I need you to eat that hot sauce ASAP. It's not that bad. It's really not. I just went with a tikka masala. I ordered that.
Yeah, not
extra
bad.
spicy.
Not bad to start. We'll see if it picks up a little bit. Well, we're going to keep eating this. This is great audio, by the way. I'm starting to feel it a little bit, but not really. The Golden State Warriors last season were incredibly good at home, but really bad on the road.
Correct.
The Kings were good at home. They played better on the road, had a better road record. But I noticed this as a trend last season. And in these first 2 home games of this season, the Kings have built double-digit leads only to have them erased. In one game they lost, one game they went to overtime. Is that chalked up, in your opinion, just to like basketball is a game of runs, and with more scoring and quicker shots and less in the shot clock, like a 15-point lead just isn't what it used to be? Or do the Sacramento Kings need to do a better job of something the Warriors do really well at home, which is building a lead and maintaining it?
Man, I think it's a product of their bad defense. Like, teams are going to make shots in the NBA. Like, that's just how it goes, especially if you're giving them open looks or you're giving them open back cuts. And that's what I think happens in Sacramento, is when they go cold offensively, they don't have a lockdown defense that's going to limit what the opposing team is doing offensively. And so I guess to answer your question, I guess you can chalk it up to like game of runs type of thing. But the Kings, to me, with how they play defensively, are more susceptible to those runs when they're not hitting their shots. And when the team's not having to take the ball out of the basket, now they're getting out and running. Okay, now they're scrambling and they're in transition. And it just kind of snowballs from there. And I think that's a product of experience a little bit. But, man, if they were 25% better defensively, you don't see the Warriors come back from, was it 15 down in the second quarter?
It was something like that, something around
13,
15
15
last night against the Lakers.
Yeah, and you just see the Lakers, what they came out in the second half and just immediately, it was just almost instant.
Yeah.
And I think that's a product more of like I said, the Kings' lack of defense than really anything else.
If the Kings were to build let's say a 15-point lead again against the Warriors, and I'm trying to think back to Game 6 of the playoffs when the Kings went into Chase Center and pretty much obliterated the Warriors in that game. And like thinking back to it, I just don't remember anything that the Sacramento Kings did massively differently to hold off the Warriors. It just seemed like they were desperate. It was their day. The Warriors weren't 100%, and they were gearing up for Game 7. So if the Kings
That's a weird game.
It was a weird game. If the Kings were to build a 15-point lead, let's say, again, against Golden State on Wednesday, again, no De'Aaron Fox, so it makes it even more difficult. It's hard enough to keep the Warriors from going on a big run as it is, but what would you, if you're Mike Brown and you're in the like it's halftime, you're up 15, like what is your message to the team of this is how we got to maintain and sustain?
Everybody guard Steph Curry.
All 5 of you.
No. I think for me, man, whatever they're doing defensively, they got them up 15. You have to harp on continuing to do that, especially in transition. Like that's such a big thing for me. If you need to give up the defensive rebound, go for it. But once a shot goes up, you need to get back and play. You can't get those, long leak outs to Gary Payton II for an easy dunk. Oh, and then there's a steal and in transition. It's Steph and Clay running up the wings, and one of them gets a wide open three. Oh, now it's 5, and now it's a 5-0 run in 20 seconds, and the crowd's rolling. That's just where things can snowball. So that would have to be the emphasis for me is the Kings are going to score. Like their offense is I never have, even De'Aaron Fox being out, I have no concern that Kings are going to put up 110, 120 points. But it's when they go through that stretch where, okay, hey, 4 or 5 possessions in a row, the shot didn't go down. You can't be giving up in those ensuing 5 possessions 14, 15 points where all of a sudden your lead has evaporated and it took 2 minutes.
I'm trying to decide when I should go to the main event that people are probably clamoring for at this point and try this to bomb, but I know it's going to...
time? I mean, I got 20 minutes, dog.
Yeah, so we still got time. So I'm going to save it a little bit because I have a feeling as soon as I take this, I'm shut down and it's a solo podcast by Kyle Madson for the remainder of the time.
I'm not going to lie. The curry's good.
It's very good.
I'm disappointed in the lack of spice,
It is not too bad.
I really thought that this is going to mess somebody up.
Yeah.
It's delicious, though.
My lips
Shout
are
out
tingly a little bit, but... That's about it. Like it's not too bad, but it's not too spicy, but it's very good. Very I would eat this entire thing by myself.
I'm enjoying eating lunch with you. This is great.
We're just scamming people to watch us eat a lunch here. I made the mistake before the playoffs of kicking the Hornets' nest unknowingly by
it's unbelievable
besmirching Kevon Looney.
It is unbelievable how often that tweet shows up in my timeline,
bro. I've never been public enemy number 1 for anything before, and I found photoshops of me on people because I have Warrior fan friends, a lot of them. One of my closest friends is a Warrior fan, and he's on Warriors Reddit all the time. And there are pictures of me like in a clown outfit and stuff, which cool,
add
to the fun.
Yeah.
But I've always pushed back against the Domantas Sabonis versus Kevon Looney kind of argument and narrative, and Kevon had an amazing moment in last week's game, the crossover that sent.
That was wild.
Sabonis.
That was wild. I don't know what Domas was doing there.
Even I had to. I'm like, I don't care. I have to post this. Like, it was so nasty. I have to post it.
I don't know. I've tried rewatching it a bunch of times because when it happens live, it's like,
what happened?
Who was that? Like, what? And then you go, and it's like Looney took one step to the right, and Domas just was, I think, maybe trying to jump a screen, or he just committed hard that direct. It was bizarre, and it did not turn out well for him.
And Looney got the better of him that possession, 100%, and he got the bigger highlight of the night between the two. And Looney had a pretty solid stat line, too.
It was fun.
But Domas was amazing. He had 18 boards, I believe, in that game to go along with around 20 points or something like that. No. Was it that much? I honestly don't
I think it was remember. 19. He was 19 points, 5 assists.
He had 5 steals, too, which was pretty crazy. And Looney had
3
steals. No.
5?
Sabonis had 5.
Oh, my God.
Looney had 3.
Jesus.
So, yeah, both guys
Hey,
really...
who said the big man is gone.
There you go. Both guys are really active in the middle. But I say all that to say, like, you kind of have your feet in both pools. You're obviously big in the Warrior side of things and working in Sacramento, covering the Kings, following the Kings for the way you have over the last handful of years. Like, when you look at the two and how they match up and how they play together, two very different styles, two very different roles on two similar teams. But how do you look at and kind of dissect the Sabonis versus Kevon Looney battle that happens when these two teams play?
Man, that's a lot. So this is hard because, like, Domas is obviously a better player. That's not even a question, and I know that's not what you're asking.
Some Warriors fans
But I think
differently.
But I think Looney does enough things right that limit Sabonis' effectiveness a little bit. Where Looney has always been, the Warriors used to in their heyday, the Warriors would switch Kevon Looney like onto James Harden on the perimeter and be fine with it. And not that he was locking up James Harden, but it wasn't a total mess. Like, he's a really good defender. He's always been a very good rebounder. And so I think just his understanding of Sabonis' game and his ability to play bigger, I think, than his size, particularly because he's so strong, I think helps to mitigate some of Sabonis' effectiveness. But that said, I mean, he's still going for, I think he's averaging like 20 and 15 against the Warriors since last year or something crazy like that. So, they're both, good in their own ways. I think Looney's probably, I think he was underrated. I think people properly rate him now. But yeah, he's the perfect type of player to match up against Sabonis because he doesn't do a ton. He does enough offensively, but he's going to play good defense. He's going to make him work for it. And I think when you're going up against an all-NBA center like Sabonis, making him work hard to get his numbers is probably the best you're gonna realistically do.
Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Gametime. This needs to be your new go-to app for buying tickets to whatever event, a sporting event, a concert, a comedy show, a theater show, whatever it may be. Gametime is the app for you to get the tickets that you want. Here's some things that you're going to get on Gametime. Last-minute tickets with flash deals and zone deals. They have easy-to-find and easy-to-buy tickets for all sorts of different events in your area. Views from all seats in the venue so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at when you get there. And the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Gametime is all about giving you the best possible way to enjoy those experiences that you love, no matter what that experience is. Go and download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. I used that discount back in the playoffs when it was in San Francisco in between a Kings and Warriors. It was in between games 3 and 4. And I went and saw a San Francisco Giants game. I used that $20 discount plus a flash deal that I found. I sat like 10 rows behind the Giants dugout for like 20 total bucks, and that was 2 tickets that I got. Just an incredible deal and just an example of what you're going to get on FanDuel. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. When you're facing a team that has a player of the quality of Steph Curry, I don't know how much a depth advantage really matters. I feel like the Kings do have the depth advantage when it comes to these two teams. But looking at the Warriors' depth and looking at the Sacramento Kings' depth, like, if there is a significant edge that the Sacramento Kings can exploit, like, what do you think that is? And while you answer that question, I'm going to prepare this thing.
Boy.
I'm going to prepare.
You're going to put that on some naan?
I don't know.
That's a good. I would just go on the naan.
Okay.
Just grab a little corner of that.
It literally says, like, only do a tiny drop and consume 1 drop at a time with extreme caution. That's what it says.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna.
Don't touch your face and eyes and stuff.
No. Yeah. No.
What did you ask me? What weakness can the King?
When it comes
here we
to
go.
Depth.
Yeah, I think Trey Lyles being healthy would make things a lot more difficult for Golden State because you could theoretically play him at the 5 with Sabonis at the 4. And then if you get active games from Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes on the glass, all of a sudden you can exploit a Warriors team that doesn't have a ton of size. Like, that's always been their thing. They've always figured out ways to overcome it. How does that smell?
Oh.
Straight gasoline. Oh my God. Yeah. So the Warriors' size is something that can definitely be exploited. I think you saw it in the opener. Oh my God. I'm so concerned about how much you're about to put on here.
If it's a lot,
Yeah. No. Bail out.
If it's a lot, I'm bailing.
Yeah. No. Bail out for sure. I don't want you to die. Like, that's not the. Pull it back. Pull it back. Oh, just now. Take the non to the.
Is that too much? I don't know.
That feels like. All right. The Warriors' size is something that can be exploited. Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, et cetera, et cetera. That's it. No, they just crash the glass and make the Warriors' size be a problem.
Oh my God, I'm actually terrified.
This is great. I'm really excited for this bit.
Look, hold on. If hot ones, if like Jennifer Lawrence and Elijah Wood and these people confirm this.
Steph Curry.
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Everything Steph does is good, except for throw a first pitch at an A's game, which made me really happy that he threw a bad first pitch. But if they can do this, then I confirm this. But I have zero spice tolerance whatsoever, and the amount of warnings.
I don't know. You sold yourself pretty short.
That curry was not that spicy.
It had a nice kick to it, but I was expecting a spicy curry to be something that you were like, oh, like the way you sold it. You were like, sour cream is my limit.
Yeah, but okay, the bomb is something that.
Well, yeah, that's gonna hurt everybody's face.
Is that enough? That's probably.
Bro, if anything, that's probably too much.
Okay.
I don't think enough is a problem.
I feel like it's like remember that Jackass? Like I'm Matt George, and this is the burn myself alive challenge. All right, here we go. I have to think of a question too. I haven't even thought of a question to ask you.
Okay. How's that going?
Bro, it tastes chemical.
I think it is. Like, there's no way that's not battery acid.
Okay. I think the bread definitely is helping.
It'd be so funny if you just powered through this with no problems.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Okay. All right. I'm going to try and... Oh, it hit the back of the throat. I'm going to try and make as much of a podcast out of this still as I can. Holy Lord. This is not great. Predictions for Wednesday. How bad? Oh, it gets worse. How bad are the Sacramento Kings? That's a bad question. How bad do the Golden State Warriors need to be for the Sacramento Kings to win this game?
I don't think that bad. That's the thing is the Kings have enough depth. I think they can survive without De'Aaron Fox. Oh. It's going to come down to Malik Monk playing well and Keegan Murray playing well. Obviously, I don't love their chances to win a title if Fox is out, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to win one game in Golden State. And you good? Keep going. Okay. They're trying to win one game in Golden State, and I think they can do that. I think honestly they might back into a solution with Davion Mitchell having to play more with De'Aaron Fox out, and just kind of wreaking havoc on that end. Oh, he's just going straight out of the jug for the.
Somebody said sugary like drinks is good, so I'm trying it.
Okay,
nothing's helping.
Dude, Matt went straight to the source of Twitter to find solutions for this. Did you confirm these on the internet? Or are you relying on people on Twitter to not mess with
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah, it's literally like, that's not FDA approved, man. Like, just... Oh, dude, you just got red all over your shirt.
Did I? God dang it. I shouldn't have worn white. I shouldn't have... Like, oops.
It looks like you're bleeding.
No, I'm fine. Can you do me a favor and pour a glass of water while I talk?
Yeah, man. I got you.
So, I did research as much as I possibly could because I saw a lot of different suggestions for things. And there's so many, nothing would contradicted each other, but it was all like, hey, all these things might help, but you're probably screwed anyway. And it was like medical sites that were basically saying stuff like that. So
great.
You get like moments of relief, and then it just
roars back. Yeah. So I heard that the spicy stuff is like a wax that attaches itself to your taste buds and sets them ablaze.
Yeah, I can feel that.
But that's why milk and stuff, because it deteriorates the wax, whereas water just kind of slides over it.
Yeah, and I'm
At
drinking
least that's what
water.
I've heard.
I was told also, like, lemonades are really good. Like, acidic things are actually really good.
Okay. Probably breaks down that wax. That would
Yeah.
track.
I can't get the damn bottle open.
I got it. Hand it to me, dog.
Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah, I think the Kings. I think if the Kings get a good Malik Monk game, I think they'll be fine.
I think Davion Mitchell is a good shout because Davion Mitchell, I mean, he only played 10 minutes against. He only played 10 minutes against the Warriors on Wednesday, and the Kings were throwing everything they could at Steph Curry, and it really didn't matter. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that helps at all. And Davion, I imagine, is going to get the start. Like, Malik Monk is so valuable in his six-man role. Like,
no, I think Davion definitely starts.
If Kevin Huerter's struggles continue, a lot of people think Malik Monk naturally steps into that starting two-guard spot. But I think Malik is so good in his six-man role, he needs to stay where he is.
I agree. Because he can ostensibly run the second unit. And if you have him starting, that throws everything off. Because now it's Davion Mitchell running your second unit. Like, I don't love that for him. He needs to for me, he needs to play alongside somebody. Or he can't be the focal point of your offense where he's bringing the ball up and stuff. So at least not regularly. So who was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, no, Kevin Huerter struggling. That's where I think Chris Duarte could make a pretty significant impact. And that's where it comes back to everything we kind of talked about in the beginning and how important it is to play defense, specifically when you're trying to protect a 15-point lead. That's where I think – there we go. That's where I think Chris Duarte could be a legitimate asset because he is so good on that end of the floor where, okay, you're not getting Kevin Huerter as a shooting threat, but you have Chris Duarte who's a fine shooter. Oh, my God. This is insane. This is actually crazy. Yeah, no, I got you. Got you one right here. Chris Duarte is. I think he's a good enough shooter, and he's going to add enough defensively that I think it eliminates some of the issues they're having in holding on to these leads, because that to me is really where it starts, on that end of the floor. And if you can get better on that end, I think they should do it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been critical of Kevin Huerter's shooting really since the playoffs, and rightfully so. Like, he's been in a slump. But for the most part this season, like, the Kings shooting guard position, with the exception of Malik Monk, it gets worse when you talk. With the exception of Malik Monk and his overtime period, like, none of the Kings shooting guards have been shooting well from the perimeter so far.
No, they haven't really. Even Keegan's like 34%. 35%.
I wanted that shot last night to go down so bad against the Lakers. That was going to be his Bogdanovich moment. But
but shout out to Keegan also getting a couple of big offensive rebounds. Getting those late. Kevin Huerter had a couple of big boards late in the game. That's just the thing if your team is exclusively relying on, and this is something that I think was a misunderstanding of the Warriors, is if your team is just relying on shooting the basketball, it's really hard to win that way because your shot is not always going to be there. It's how can you affect the game when the shot is not going down. And that's why I thought Kevin Huerter was so good on Sunday night. Is because, hey, you know what? Shot hasn't been falling, but he's going to go grab rebounds. He dished out a few assists. He got inside. He got to the free throw line. It's affecting the game in other ways, and I think Keegan Murray can do that same thing. I think Malik Monk, especially with De'Aaron Fox out, can do that same thing by facilitating more. And I mean, he's still going to get his shots up. Like, don't get it twisted. But I think if he's facilitating offensively in more than just like a JaVale McGee pick-and-roll situation, I think that can help. So there's so many ways for them to get going without their shooting guards making shots.
What have you thought of Sasha Vezenkov? Ha! Ah! Oh, it sucks. Ha! It gets literally worse. What have you thought of Sasha Vezenkov so far? Because I thought, like, we were concerned about his defense in preseason, and he's been hitting shots, and we kind of expected that of him. But defensively, these first 3 games, I thought he's had some really good moments.
I was super surprised. I did not think he was going to be in the rotation at all up front. And the fact that he's not only gotten into the rotation, but he's in the rotation early in games. He's always one of the first subs in. And then he's been really good at still finding space on back cuts. That was something he did in the preseason that I thought teams might adjust to, and they haven't. He can obviously shoot it. Like, that's not, I think, ever going to be a problem for him. Did you just toss a color that you didn't want?
No, I snapped it in half on accident.
Oh, okay. I thought
I snapped the popsicle in half on
I
accident.
thought you were like, nope, don't want that color, and went to a different one. This is uncomfortable. Please don't make eye contact with me when you do that. Didn't like that.
Help.
I didn't like that 1 minute. I didn't like that one bit.
Nothing helps.
So yeah, no, I've been really impressed with him. He's not been a turnstile on defense. He's shooting it confidently. He's still finding space on back cuts. I like I said, I was convinced after the preseason is like, oh, we might not see him until like December, and he's playing early and making an impact.
Straight ice does not help. It doesn't matter. But also, this is a really elaborate way for me to essentially just have Kyle Madson host my show because I'm essentially useless at this point. Well, before we wrap up,
why would you do that to your listeners?
what?
Why would you do that to your listeners?
What have you? Because I need the podcast to go up. I need the ratings. I don't even remember what questions I've asked at this point. I know we just talked about Sasha Vezenkov, but let me ask this. Why do you think, do you think Harrison Barnes, it's something mental with him when it comes to playing the Golden State Warriors? Because when you talk to him about it, he always brushes it off. And what I love about Harrison is even when he has a good game, he makes it about the team and never makes it about himself. He did that after Utah. God, this sucks. But every time he plays Golden State, it's not that he struggles, it's that he kind of just disappears. Like, what do you think is the reason for that?
So my working theory is that, and Mike Brown talked about this the other night, is that they got out of their offense against the Warriors. And so the ball wasn't hopping around. So Harrison Barnes just didn't have as many opportunities. And I think there's something to that where they see the Warriors and everybody wants to individually have a great game and individually make their mark on the game, where maybe they're dribbling more than they usually do, or they are not effectively, essentially running the offense, where you're driving and it just wasn't the Kings offense on Friday night was not the Kings offense that we're used to seeing. And I don't know if it's something the Warriors are doing defensively. I don't know if it's it's the Warriors, I want to win, and so I want to be individually great today, or what it is. But I thought Mike Brown's explanation of why Harrison Barnes didn't have a great game on Friday was pretty convincing in terms of the Kings just not being in their offense, so him not getting a ton of opportunities. But on the other hand, I think there's part of Harrison that it wouldn't surprise me if it's not so much about disappearing against the Warriors, it's not wanting to be doing too much, where he winds up not doing enough. And I think there's probably something to that too. But that doesn't explain, like, dude, go get rebounds. Like, there's other ways you can affect the game that go beyond scoring the basketball. So
final thing, we'll end with this because I need help. It's actually getting better, and then I think it's getting better, and it's not getting better. If we're like pre-writing a headline for a Kings victory on Wednesday, and it's the Sacramento Kings beat the Warriors because blank or behind blank, like, what do you think is what needs to happen? And I can think of one too, but
I think it's a big Malik Monk game. I think Monk has to be good. I know earlier I talked about Keegan Murray, and I do think Keegan has to be better, but I don't know how the Kings win if Monk isn't having an effective offensive game. Like, he has to basically fill in for De'Aaron Fox. And that's not to say he's going to be as good or put up the numbers, but he can't have one of those 2 for 14 type of games. I don't think they win in that scenario.
And kind of building off that a little bit too, like what I have in my head is I can't see the Sacramento Kings ever winning comfortably against the Golden State Warriors without De'Aaron Fox. So I feel like if it's Monk or if it's Curry, I feel like there's a buzzer beater attached to it. And I feel like it's almost like the headline I have in my head is the Sacramento Kings steal a win. Like that's what I feel like has to happen is Kings go into the Chase Center. Maybe they keep it close. The Warriors are in the lead or in control for a lot of it. Kings make a little bit of a run, and it's Malik or Keegan or Domas or whoever it is that just hits the big buzzer beater shot or has like a tip in at the buzzer for the Kings to win by 1. Like that's what I feel like has to happen, or this is the most likely way that the Kings win on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think that's probably I'd be pretty surprised they went in and boat raced the Warriors, but a late Malik Monk 3 to put him ahead by 1 with a couple seconds left, that wouldn't shock me at all.
Well, Kyle, thanks for providing the actual edible good part of this.
Yeah, I'm I'm lightly disappointed, but I'm glad that you took it upon yourself to get the hot sauce.
I texted Kyle a screenshot of the page for this before buying it, and I said, "Should we?" And then he didn't text me back for an hour.
I was asleep.
He was sleeping.
Come on, man.
And so, yeah, I'm up way too early because I have a kid.
I know.
And so I bought it, and then maybe a minute or 2 minutes after I bought it, I get the text. Nah.
Well, okay, so
That's the text I got from Kyle. I was like, oh, well now I got to do it.
And I think that was part of the reason that I didn't search out like spiciest curry in Sacramento or something like that, because I knew you had that on deck. And so this was definitely a little bit disappointing in the spice level, but I knew the chips weren't going to be crazy. Those were just going to be little apps.
Well, honestly, I think this is the right way for it to happen because you won the bet, so you didn't deserve to go through the gauntlet with me. You deserved a nice meal while I deserved
I did. This is great. I can't wait to not be on camera and eat this naan. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, let's wrap things up then. It's probably going to take me another half an hour to recover, but I obviously have gotten better. I think the naan helped, but when you first eat it, there's nothing. Like it tastes chemical, and you're just like, well, this kind of sucks. And then once like that swallowed the naan and everything was good, then your tongue just
came roaring back.
Your tongue just catches on fire, and my tongue and the roof of my mouth is still on fire.
What's the plan for the rest of this bottle of hot sauce?
It might be a podcast set thing. Like a lot of people just buy these to kind of. And what's crazy is too, I bought another Hot Ones hot sauce like middle of the road. I bought it, but it didn't arrive in time because I was going to have that too to try kind of as our midway.
Sure,
point. But
I think you just need to make more bets with people with it. Like this is what I got. We don't bet dollars. We bet dabs of hot sauce.
I don't know if I ever want to do this again. I don't know if I ever want to do that. And that was a tiny, tiny little thing. I don't even know if that's like, I'm pretty sure Hot Ones, they put more on than that. But shout out to all the celebrities who are tougher than I am. No surprise there. Kyle, shout out to you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming
is great.
on. Thanks for previewing.
Literally anytime.
No matter what happens in the Kings-Warriors game, it can't be worse than what I just did. So
cool.
I'm setting myself up for success or failure.
Attaboy.
But I do think the Kings are going to. I do think the Kings are going to be competitive. I do. I think the Kings are going to keep it competitive just because of the matchup. But we'll see. I think.
Well, they're not a team that goes, oh, De'Aaron's out. What are we going to do?
Right.
I just don't think that's in their DNA.
I'm more interested in this game from the perspective less of Kings versus Warriors and more like Kings versus themselves.
Yeah.
How does it look like now that they're overcoming the Fox absence?
So, yeah, totally.
Well, check out Kyle Madson with James Ham on the Insiders, ESPN 1320, 10 a.m. to noon every single weekday before D-Lo and KC. And on top of that, if you're a San Francisco 49ers fan, which we're all struggling right now, even though I'm not. I don't know why I said we. I'm not an Niner fan.
Yeah, that's a weird thing for you to say.
Either way, we're all going through it. You host the Candlestick Chronicles podcast with Chris Biederman, who's amazing, and also has done some Kings. Well, he's all right.
He's all right.
Make him do this.
No.
Why?
Because I'm afraid of him.
He'll get violent with Spice.
No. Maybe we can figure that out one day.
Well, shout out Kyle making time for this, and thank you to you for watching and paying attention. We'll see how the Kings do on Wednesday, and also, hey, have a happy Halloween, everybody.